congratulations. I mean, I think you played the best game of the season.
Ah,
So,
thank you
so
so
good.
much. Thank you.
So let's talk about this final tribal. We don't
Yeah,
get to
let's do it.
see this full edit. So do you feel like you were able to lay out your game for everyone?
I do. I do feel like I laid it out. I think a lot. I mean, they showed I think some key moments, and they did let me outline like the generally the biggest parts of my strategy. But I think in the full cut, I was really able to dispel any idea that I was just sort of under Maria's or under Maria's direction. Like I explained very clearly that like I wanted Maria to be a big threat as a shield for me while I could basically operate and control things how I wanted to. And I was actively sort of setting up her demise for quite a long time in the game. And I explained that in a lot more detail, going all the way back to even the Hunter vote, the TIFF vote, and how I sort of influenced those votes to happen. Um, so that I definitely got to explain a lot more. And I think, that's why people like Hunter, Soda, Liz all voted for me. On the basis of strategy. I think I was able to sell that very well and had some really hard hitting points at Final Tribal for sure.
So going into the vote, were you feeling pretty decent?
I honestly was. I honestly was. I really think, and Kenzie even sort of I think had to pivot off of talking about gameplay. You saw in her last, it's she said at some point basically she was like, I played a social game, I didn't play a strategic, and I think that's how the jury ultimately viewed it because I think I was the few moves she brought up, like she brought up the Tim vote, and that was obviously disputed by the jury. Like I don't think that got her any major credit, and she didn't really talk about that many more moves. At Final Tribal. So I was honestly feeling good because I was talking about a lot of different things and,
Mhm.
really connecting my game, from start to finish in a cohesive way. So I did feel good, honestly, especially if it was, and I'll say 99% of the Final Tribal was all questions about gameplay.
Yeah.
So they sort of edit it more into like some of the gameplay moments and then showing like some of the social content, but like experiencing it was way more focused on gameplay,
Mm.
um, and so I did feel good, when Jeff was walking down to read the votes, but obviously that was a incorrect read.
Yes, I mean, and then to go into this immediate reunion that we've been doing lately, it just seems so difficult for the non-winning finalists. How did you get through that?
It was tough, and I'll give you a Taylor Swift song that
Please.
sums it up. I can do it with a broken heart off Tortured Poets, but
Mm.
in the line where it's lights, camera, bitch, smile, even when you want to die, and it's just like you just gotta get through it, right? And do as best you can, even when you're feeling awful. Yeah, it was brutal, but I mean, they definitely captured the raw emotion, that's for sure. Yeah.
I mean, I know you can't speak for Maria, but do you feel like she just struggled to give you credit for her getting her and Q out?
Really complicated for me to say. I do think she struggled with that. I think, yeah, I think, well, first of all, it's very hard for me to pin, what her reasoning is because she left the game. The last thing she said to me was, "Get to the final three. You've got my vote." So I really thought I had that locked down. So as far as I knew, all my interactions with her were like leading me to get her vote. I've obviously, heard a lot, now that a year has passed in the game from other people, from Maria. I do think she struggled with that. Maybe seeing herself as the robbed person of the season. But I never anticipated that that would be bleeding into her decision making, especially after leaving the game, saying she was going to vote for me. But just more than that, like over the past year, we've obviously talked about it a lot, and she's just waffled so many times. A couple weeks after the game, she told me she regretted her vote for Kenzie, wish she would have voted for me. Only to then renege on saying that, saying she didn't want to have any regrets. So she didn't stand by that anymore. And then, you know, her reasoning at the after show was always hard for me to take, saying that saw fire in Kenzie's eyes. I get, the identification of, starting a family. I'm not a young woman starting her family. Maria was a young woman at one point starting her family. Kenzie is currently a young woman starting her family. So, I get that there's that connection there, which totally valid. But then, like, in the past couple days, Maria texted me and was like, "Oh, I have like some things I might be saying in my exit press," and I basically, she was like, "Do you want to know them?" I was like, "We've talked about this for a year. Why you voted for Kenzie over me? Like, I already know. Like, I don't know what you could be coming up with." And she, texted me like some completely new reasons, which to me were completely inconsistent with everything she said to me, everything I've heard from other people. And at that point, I was just sort of done with this whole rigmarole. It was already a really raw emotional moment. Not getting her vote, I've really done my best to nurture the friendship, but at the end of the day, I don't think it's, either of us necessarily need it, unfortunately, which is tough because we were really close out there.
Absolutely. I mean, this is just a tough experience to go through, and then you have to process it. I'm sure you wake up in the middle of the night thinking about it all of the time. Then you watch it back.
Yeah,
Does it bring it back up for you to watch it again?
it totally does. And it's been kind of tough watching this season. Obviously we were a very powerful duo for the whole season. And I obviously knew the whole time how it ends, in quite a twist of fate. But so it's kind of tough watching that, especially in the final six episode, episode 12, where we're just talking about how close we've gotten. I said a lot of really positive things about Maria, which I still stand by for the record. I wish her no ill will. She's an amazing person, but in terms of like our friendship, it's just never going to be quite the same based on what happened at the end of the game and over the past year, um, past week. And yeah, but it's tough. It's very raw watching that. I think they did a good job of kind of showing, like, I don't know, at least from my perspective, I was like, I don't really know, still don't really know where that vote came from, for Kenzie. You watch the game, the season, and I think the viewers like me probably thought that I had that vote locked down, but guess not.
Yeah, does it help? Does it feel any better to know you have a ton of people who watched you make amazing strategic moves and think that you had great reason to win? Does that help at all?
I'll say first of all, I do stand by what I said in the after show. Like, the jury picks the winner. The jury doesn't get it wrong. As frustrated I am, specifically maybe with Maria, but like, or however, whoever, other jurors, whatever. And I don't want any jurors getting any hate. I don't want Maria getting any hate. But yeah, I mean, it's at the same time I'm a Survivor fan. This is what Survivor fans do. This is what makes the show so good. People get so invested in characters and plot lines and who should have won and who won. So I completely stand by what I said about, from the game standpoint. And I have so much respect and love for the game of Survivor that like the jury doesn't get it wrong. But this is just par for the course. As much as we might want to, argue against that, say it's not good, it's just that's Survivor. This is what makes it so good, is it's such a compelling and emotional game, and the fans get so connected as well, just like I did, so it is, as a fan, I love it. As a player who went through it, I'm like, well, I could have done without the emotional roller coaster maybe, but I really appreciate all the support I've been getting. Not just for this moment, but the whole season.
Mhm.
All the kindness a lot of fans have shown me. So
As someone who enjoys a Taylor Swift song here and there, but is not a Swiftie,
Totally fair, by the way. You don't have to be a Swiftie.
well, tell me, what is it? Like, I've never seen someone go on Survivor and talk about Taylor Swift pretty much the whole time. So what does she mean to you?
Well, first of all, so I literally, right before I went on Survivor, I'd just seen the Eras tour, like days before I left. So it was like, and that was just an incredible, incredible concert experience. Like, oh, just so fun. I went with my girlfriend. It was like the best night ever. So Taylor Swift definitely like front of mind from the concert. I was riding my concert high. Um, so I think that's definitely a big reason too. But I don't know, it's just a lot of fun. I've always been a fan of her music, and I knew the Swifties would appreciate some Swiftie love on the show. And there's a whole lot of Swifties out there who are Survivor fans, so shout out to them. They've been showing me a lot of love this season.
So funny.
Yeah.
I also just don't know song titles or lyrics. I was just impressed that you have this knowledge of any artist.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I've been a Taylor Swift fan like basically since middle school. I've just always liked her music. I've just found it really, really catchy, and a lot of the songs, there's a song for like any emotion you might be feeling. I'm listening to plenty right now, I'll tell you that. Uh, then you go through breakups, and it ignites your love for the music even more. You're like getting new meanings out of all these songs. So yeah, it's just deep emotional connection to her music, and also just really fun lyrics and creative lyrics and smart lyrics. So I just really like it.
I love it. Well,
Yeah.
you were amazing to watch. Loved watching your game, and I really appreciate your time today.
Thank you, Sarah. This was really fun.